Hey guys, what's going on? It's Life in 3D again with me, Damien, Mr. Dwayne D. Wise, and Dwayne Anthony. In today's episode, we're talking about life in Black, the Black community. It's Black History Month. And the fundamental question that we're looking at is, whose responsibility is it to take on systemic racism, systemic inequality that tends to and has affected the Black community for centuries, for decades?
You always start in the mirror. You start with yourself. And so regardless of what the situation is, you're always supposed to come back to you. And even when there's an external force that's affecting you or impacting you, you have to ask the question, how can I make a difference? How have I contributed to this situation, this condition, or this outcome? How have I contributed to that? And then how can I change in order to get the outcome that I want? Because in general, we usually cannot control the external forces. Sometimes we can, but more often than not, you cannot control the external forces. You really only have control over yourself. So for me, I acknowledge the fact that there's been systemic racism. I acknowledge the fact that there's been systemic discrimination. But I also have to acknowledge the fact that most of the damage, socially, economically, in terms of education, most of the damage being done to our community is being done by us. We're the ones who are really the main culprit in holding ourselves back.
DY, so you showed some very important issues around the dances, and you tried to broach under the culture point, right? One of the things I would say is that in a free market capitalist kind of makeup, how is looking more inward within specific circles, right? So around your own kind of community, is that running against the grain of how free market capitalism works? But I'm going to allow Anthony to come in and provide his kind of his take on it, and then I'll circle back and give some perspectives. But the wise one, as always, started off on fire.
Generally speaking, yeah, obviously there are systematic things. I think it's undeniable. But we have to be, I think, also careful of the context that we create. If we come from a situation where the way we see ourselves leads to our action, leads to our results. That's kind of how that's the way I see it, right? And if we are seeing ourselves as defeaters, if we're seeing ourselves that we can't achieve certain things, then we're not even going to take the actions that lead to the results. So while there are obviously systematic things there, while there are obviously obstacles there, I think the most important thing for us to identify who we are as individuals, right? And who are we as individuals, depending on who you are and your background, you start to categorize yourself. So how do you categorize yourself, right? So me, I see myself as a child of God before anything else, right? We're one human race, God's creation, all perfect, everything do. So whatever is there that I can create is absolutely possible. And that drives who I am and what I can achieve, right? And I'm not to say if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in God. But I think if you step back and look at who you are as an individual, if you are not grounded in who you are as an individual, and if the way you categorize yourself, which is, I have all these obstacles and there's no way I can achieve this, then you're already behind before you even start the race. You understand? No, if you start off with, I start off and, it could be, I am this color and there's certain systematic racist things that I have and there's no chance, then you're not even going to take the action, right? So I think from that path, in terms of advancement, I think we have to, before we even start to go to the results, we have to come back to say what our self-identity and our self-esteem is. And I think if you get grounded in your identity, from there, I think it's a proper launching place to go from. So that's kind of, and I know it's kind of like a broader take on it, but that's my general philosophy on things,
yes, when we look in the realm of culture and sports and entertainment, we do see the kind of the print, right, and
Yeah.
the ways in which the black community has showed up, but that really doesn't capture a big market share of success, right? It's not going to work for everyone. So we start off with the internal thing. It's very important, right, about self-identity. And one of the things I am growing two black boys, and I know you guys have children as well, that we have to kind of give them a strong sense of self about their own identities. Yes, very important in the black community, and I think in many ways one of the internal hit job that's been happening against the black community is that these notions around our identity is being attacked. It's been attacked from outside, but also even within. We have lost our sense of self. We need to get back there. That's the first thing. The next thing is that we need to start following the models of those who have gone through this systemic, very oppressive system, but they have managed to uplift themselves, right? And it's not just in entertainment, it's not just in sports, because those avenues are very narrow, but they are doing things in other areas, in business, in entrepreneurship, right? In the humanities, in medical sciences. Uplift those people